I have a joke. Yep. No, that's okay. It's not gonna happen yet. No one's hearing this. This isn't show yet.
Biggest dad bod in the streets of Overland Park.
Do you think Nate knows we're live?
I don't think so, man.
Yeah, I know. It's still okay.
No, we're not really live yet. This isn't the
Okay,
goal.
let's
We're not really live
be
yet.
quiet now.
And action. You know, guys, it's May 29th. OTAs are ongoing. And I figured I'd just ask you guys the question that I've been thinking about all day today, which is, what are your guys' feet situations at home? Are you guys bare feet in the house? Are you sock wearers? Don't laugh, Seth. This is important. Are you
here we go.
slippers,
Here we
slippers
go.
and house shoes? What's the default for you guys? Because I've really Seth's in socks right now. They say Super Dad on them.
Super Dad. Wow.
I've got socks on right now with skeleton bones on them.
Dude, those are awesome.
They're really nice.
So-
They've got some little like gripper things on the bottom too. Great for in the house. Nate, you're outside, so I assume you have shoes on.
Yeah, baby.
Good.
This is a great question, so I'm gonna break it down. All right. Fantastic question.
Thank you.
Right now, we're at the cutoff, in my opinion, between, because it's still kind of chilly at night. So if you have hardwood floors, because I've been in both situations where I've had hardwood floors, where I've had a carpeted house or an apartment. Carpet, you usually just barefoot. That's
The
fine.
rules are totally different on carpet, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but we, most of our houses is hardwood floor. So right now, and you're not gonna believe this, ladies and gentlemen, right now we're still in socks. But in middle of June, right when the calendar goes from clay court season to grass court season, that's when you really need to go barefoot. Because right now, and I should do this tonight with my son, you like to wear the thickest socks that will allow you to slide the way Gil Monfils slides on a clay court.
That's what my father told me.
I can't do that bit 2 shows in a row. I can't do it, Nate. I'm not strong enough. I'm not.
He asked the question. Look. I'm just sliding in my house in socks on a hardwood floor, thinking it might be, Roland Garros. That's okay.
That's fine. Talk about my marriage so much.
Now, when you get into December, you really need to get the thickest wool socks.
You got to go fuzzy socks when it's
fuzzy
it's cold
socks,
out. You have
wool,
to.
Is Nate gonna slide Noah through the kitchen?
Yes.
It's not a bad idea.
Next time Holly's like, "Hey, can you pass me the baby?" Just snap him.
No, you put them on a blanket, you slide them around. Kids love it. If you go too fast, centrifugal force can be a problem.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
So that's what happened. That's what happened to Cole, right?
Right. Obviously. Or you can slide. Look, you can slide. Get your little broom out and slide like you're in, the Western Conference Finals of the National Hockey League. I mean, come on. Who hasn't done this?
Yeah. It's
at one point in time.
It's an important way to be. I appreciate you guys joining me in this conversation, because I've really been on a big sock kick recently. I mean, obviously we're still kind of I do think when it's like hot out, I don't need extra enclosures around my feet. Sometimes though, I like to wear a nice house shoe, maybe sockless, let the toes breathe a little bit, but have a little surface there. I don't know.
Now, fellas, I'm gonna ask both y'all a question. I'm gonna ask it for the fellas listening and watching, because this is very important. We need to protect ourselves and take care of ourselves. How them toes looking? How are the toenails looking? Because if you ganging it up right now, if your toenails are monsters,
man.
Seth, which flavor of sun chip does your big toenail most closely represent?
Come on, bro. You gotta
now here's the deal. You guys need to know that there's a strong possibility that in the next 20 seconds after I say what I'm about to say, my wife is going to burst through this door and tell everyone I'm lying, but I'm not. I clip my toenails with some frequency.
That's right.
Because here's the problem.
This is a hygienic show.
Here's the problem with clipping your toenails is sometimes because the lighting isn't great in the bathroom, and I'm a good husband, so I'm trying to make sure that I'm not sending toenail clippings everywhere.
Go
Hey,
outside, you animal.
Josh, wait till you get a dad bod, and then you're going, oh my God, how can I get the angle right to get to my pinky toe?
Nate, I don't know what I'm waiting on, but
I
guess it's the dad part of the dad bod, because the bod is there.
Oh my God, how do I clip these things?
Yeah, no, anytime I try to bend this way, it's like there's something in the way. I don't know. It's the oddest thing. So here's the thing, though. As you're clipping, if you take the wrong angle or something like that,
Lord.
then you end up with a point that you guys remember Narsil in Lord of the Rings, the sword that only Aragorn could wield. That's what happens to my toenails if I clip them wrong. And so the harder I try to make my wife happy, the more likely it is that at some point while we lay in bed, I'm going to just move and mind my own business. And she is going to shriek like she has been pierced by the venom of Shelob. We're going to do a lot of Lord of the Rings things today, I see.
Guys, you don't know how relatable this is right now. This is
and
such
then she
relatable
acts like
content.
I did it intentionally.
Correct.
She's like,
yes.
How could you do such a... It's like,
how could you cut me in my leg with your toenail?
And it's like, and it never even makes a mark, honestly.
And that concludes our breakdown of today's Chiefs OTA press conferences. Most of the guys are in the building, as we clarified on Tuesday. But today, we get to talk about somebody who wasn't in the building, found out why, heard some press conferences from out there at One Arrowhead Drive. Plus, Seth is taking a look at the other side of the football. I'm not going to ask you guys how you're doing. I'm not going to indulge in a welcome for you, Seth Keysor, or you, Nate Taylor, from myself, Joshua Brisco. It's unnecessary because we just talked about our feet for 5 minutes, as the podcasting lords intended. With that being said, anything more interesting than your sock, slipper, sandal situation from today's pressers, Nate? I got a couple of things, but I don't think it's more interesting than toenail hygiene, a topic that, believe it or not, I'm actually not a huge fan of.
Because look, we got to appreciate women more. The things women do are incredible. And
this in general is true. I can't wait to figure out what this has to do with Rasheed Rice or Josh Simmons.
And then you try to do it yourself, and you're like, man, why was I an idiot? Maybe I should have gotten pedicures all my life, because this is incredible. Okay, because what I would tell people today is we don't need to see clips of Rasheed Rice. No, I don't need to see clips of Hollywood Brown. Actually, I don't want to see you, Trey Smith. Be on a beach somewhere. Okay, I know you guys are working out. You guys have been on the team. You know the playbook or whatever the new scheme is going to be. You know, whatever the wrinkles are.
They might throw downfield every now and then this year.
But guys, I mean, how can I live and breathe without seeing Sky Moore reps? How? This is the time.
I mean, this is the time.
I mean, how can I envision Kingsley Suamataia at left guard if I don't see it on May 29th? Okay, this is important. This is important stuff. Okay. I think Patrick Mahomes is lying to us when he says he doesn't want to do flag football.
Yeah, that was one of the little takeaways. He said he's leaving it to the young guns, most likely. You don't believe that?
No, I need you to lean all the way into the bit, okay? Which is, I'm going to stake my claim now, and I need that gold medal. Come find me in a couple years. So even that was underwhelming. Like, I thought that was going to be the most, jovial sort of, hey, great to be back, cool little storyline. Like, yeah, all right, Patrick, if you're into this, like as we talked about a couple weeks ago, who's on your starting? Was it starting 5, starting 6? I don't know. How many people can you have on the flag football field?
I'll get there by 2020, whatever.
The IO. How many superstars did the IOC let us have on the field at one point in time? But no, we didn't learn anything today. And that's great, because it's all voluntary. but not voluntary for you, Tyquan Thornton. Not voluntary for you. Insert any rookie name. And certainly not voluntary for you. Gotta keep my job, Sky Moore.
Yeah.
It's sort of an attendance test right now, right? Just like we're gonna see if you're in class. And obviously, again, some of those young guys can get things done. I do think there's some use in this period from the coaching perspective. There is very little of use from an analysis perspective because we're not getting anything new to analyze. What I will throw at you here, Seth, down the field, even start running. I'm going to throw this one to you in a second, believe it or not. But our dear friend Matt Derrick asked Mahomes today what has stood out to him from the passing sessions. That's including the Texas workouts, the OTA stuff, and all of that. And I think I have this as close to direct quotes as possible. The connection out there from the facilities wasn't great, but Mahomes said his takeaway from the passing sessions was, "We're fast. Xavier, Rasheed, Hollywood, Thornton, Royals. We've got guys that can roll, and our job is to test defenses down the field. We have to get back to doing that if we want to open up the other guys underneath." So I think Coach Reed's challenged me this offseason to push the ball down the field, let guys have chances to make plays, and then once we get back to where we want to, then we can come back to the underneath stuff. I'm mentioning that because that was such a major part of our conversation on Tuesday and last week and last month and last year. But Seth, I think it's at least something that Mahomes is out here saying that's, of course, been a topic of conversation between him and Andy throughout this offseason.
It's at least demonstrative that they're aware of the problem.
Which is nice.
Which is nice. And they were aware of it last year, too. But I'll tell you what, the conversations about the deep ball weren't as prevalent in May. And during the, that started like in training camp, they talked about some intentionality about pushing the ball deep. But now it's May. Like we haven't we've turned the page to the 2025 season, but not exactly. Like I always view it as actually starting in training camp. I don't know what I view OTAs as, maybe like football purgatory or something, but it's not.
Steve Spagnuolo calls them pajama practices because all you're doing is a hat and a t-shirt. And when he means that, he means like a helmet, no pads, not like you're not even in shells. We're just in pajamas.
Yeah, you're not even in shells is a great way of framing it. And so the fact that they're aware of the impact that's having overall, honestly, the only thing that would make me feel better, I would love to hear Mahomes say something about like how statistically they were efficient but not explosive, and noting like I would love to hear like, and he's not going to do that. But honestly, if you like just added one explosive play per game to the Chiefs offense, it just changes everything. And hearing him talk about how that one play can change many plays, which is what he's talking about when he says that opens up stuff underneath. He's absolutely right. And the fact that they know that's a problem is reassuring. Because it would be weird if they didn't. Like there's other things that they act like aren't problems sometimes. And I'm like, but I think it's a problem. And then, you just got to trust someone like Andy Reid, who, knows a little more about football than I do. And you're like, man, I hope he's right and I'm wrong. And usually he is. Every now and then I'm exactly right. Like, a number of things that
no one's batting 1,000.
Yeah. No one's batting 1,000. If I'm happy if I'm batting like 100, like in terms of like my takes being correct.
Then you would be in the Royals starting lineup tonight, Seth.
That's what I'm hearing. But
I almost made that joke, Nate. I was like, that feels mean-spirited, and I haven't been watching.
No,
so maybe
don't be mean to them.
No,
that's who they are. The reason, it'd be great if there wasn't so much Jack Caglione propaganda at this point.
That's a real person, by the way, Seth. I don't know if that's made it to your radar.
We're so close.
I have seen enough references from that Tucker D. Franklin to know who that is.
I mean, we're so close to jacking off. Anyway, with Jack Caglione,
I knew he had something. I knew it was going to be something.
Of course he did. Thank you, Tucker. He appreciated that I was at the warning track and he was ready to do his thing. So, look, if he wasn't hitting bombs every single game in AAA, it seems, and the Royals weren't hitting a collective, 222. This wouldn't be a problem, It'd just be like, hey, you'd just be like any other top-rated prospect. Like, time will tell. But Seth, I'm dead honest when I say right now, if I put you in at second base for the Kansas City Royals tonight, you cannot do worse than who is playing second base for the Royals tonight. You cannot.
I feel like
actually, they're not playing tonight, so it makes my joke even better.
It does. But it is good that the Chiefs see that it's a problem. Much like the Royals apparently maybe see that the hitting's a problem.
Maybe
like,
call them up. Let's see it.
Isn't their pitching awesome? Like
incredible. That's why it's so frustrating, Seth. They got the whatever early 2000s Oakland Athletic A's lineup in terms of pitching rotation, but we're not playing Moneyball a goddamn lick this year.
Right. And so you want to see teams do the obvious things. And honestly, that's like, everyone talks about like the Patriot way. They don't talk about that as much anymore now that Belichick's
dating a woman not his age.
Nope. They just don't talk about it as much anymore.
Hey, man, the Belichick way is apparently a totally different thing.
What are you talking about? That's just an honest fact. He's dating a woman not his age.
By 3 orders of magnitude.
Yeah. So literally, right? And you can't imitate all of the Patriot way. I think people are realizing this more and more, just like you can't imitate the Chiefs way. It's like, okay, step one, have Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones and Travis Kelce as your core. Ooh, like that's hard to do. That's, these things are just tough to do. But one thing you can do
don't even have a quarterback.
Oh, well, man. And that was almost the cold open today. And then I got real. I'm just glad we talked about socks instead.
They're basically looking to like trade for maybe another playmaker. I don't know, but don't fumble obvious problems. That the whole Patriot type thing. One of the things they did at times, and I think this is what the good teams. So we can stop calling it the Patriot way. We can just call it what good NFL teams generally do. Is they do the obvious things. It's like, even like if you take the Eagles, reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. It's annoying, but what can you do? They are like, oh man, our secondary was really a problem in 2023. And that's one reason we kind of stunk after getting to the Super Bowl the previous year. So what do? They signed dudes to the secondary and then drafted a bunch of dudes in the secondary. Like sometimes, and I know that sounds like so obvious, but I swear the number of times you see teams not just do the obvious thing. Okay, we really have been struggling with the deep ball a couple years in a row, despite the fact that we know Mahomes can hit those. He seems like his feet are sped up and he's not trusting his guys. Okay, well, let's address a wide receiver. Okay, we're still having those problems. Let's double down at left tackle. Like these are the obvious things to do, and I'm glad to see they're doing it.
There you go. There's some OTA takeaways for you. Also, the big one. So Rasheed Rice wasn't out there because he's sick. Andy Reid says there's a bug going around, and so that gives you some of the some explanations there. But that's why he was out. And Mahomes said that he, quote, looks like Rasheed from their workouts in Dallas and Kansas City now. So I'm continuing to put my flag in just the cautious optimism side there. Right. But that's a good thing to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, one tidbit I could add to that, and I'm sorry I haven't said this before, but Camp Mahomes, as we said before, is voluntary, just like this is. But based on what I was told and how the team has, coordinated things, like I'm talking like strength and conditioning staff, athletic training staff, obviously Rasheed and obviously the surgeons the surgeon I should say who did the surgery. Appears to have no real restrictions. The only thing now is how much can you regain your athleticism and your football shape when the pads come on in August, or I guess the pads might come on late July depending on when they start training camp. But whenever the pads come on, between me saying this now on May 29th, does Rasheed Rice not have any setbacks? If that's the case, then he should be he should not have a real restrictions, even though they might be cautious about his reps, his participation in training camp. But that's what leads Patrick to say he looks like Rasheed as much as you could see again in pajama practices, even though he wasn't there today.
I mentioned some of this when we talked about him on Tuesday. We talked about Rasheed Rice's recovery and like the caution that I'm going in with it on. The one that has come to mind the most for me, and this is in sort of conflict in a positive way, what Mahomes said today. I think about Juan Thornhill talking about his ACL. That was sort of the name I was penciling in on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
Guys who said they were back, and then the next year said they were really back and weren't really back the year before. But Juan Thornhill tore his ACL in week 17, I think, or game 17. I can't remember exactly, but very, very into the season. And then like Charles Omenihu, who obviously loses the first half more of the next season because he tears his ACL in the AFC Championship game. Mahomes mentioned with Rice today, obviously that was an early season injury, so he's ahead of that schedule. You obviously lose him for all of last season, so the time missed is still obviously punishing. But cause for optimism there is great. I want to see him playing football again as quickly and as healthy as possible. The biggest injury takeaway today is Andy Reid saying that Josh Simmons is, quote, further ahead than I thought he was. He said, I think for sure for camp, and then maybe something in team periods in phase 3.
Can you explain Seth's facial expression?
Seth looks like the Rizzler.
Look, I'm going to trust the quarterback more so than I'm going to trust the head coach.
On
their comments
updates
today.
Sure, yeah. Very fair. Andy Reid's putting the throttle down for Josh Simmons. Nate is a skeptic. Seth is wants to see it. Seth wants to see something.
I would really one reason it would be so cool for him to be quote unquote like good to go for team periods, or like not like for team periods or for phase 3 would be, so who lines up with the first team,
right?
That's like the only thing you want to know. The only thing you could take away from this stuff, who lines up where, that does matter. And
it matters. And it matters even more so, to your point, Seth, about the offensive line, because they usually do not deviate from that between OTA periods right now and what you're going to see in training camp in the preseason.
Yes. And so that's where that matters. Like, it doesn't matter how he looks. Like, they're literally not wearing pads. Like, of all the positions to not judge anything on, offensive and defensive line, it's like, you don't know anything. It's like, well, you can test hand fighting. No, you can't. They grab those pads a lot, people. Like, that's part of it. It would be really cool. Like, if like, oh yeah, he could do a few team drills and be like, well, who's he lining up with? Like, and now will we see that or have access to that? It's hard to say. Honestly, them restricting access to that would tell me as much as them lining him up there at left tackle 1 and be like, oh, so he's healthy is what you're saying. So I don't know.
Is that what we want you to believe?
Oh, jeepers.
Someone's having mind games played with them. I don't know if it's Josh Simmons, if it's Jalen Moore, if it's Jawan Taylor, if it's the three of us, if it's Andy Reid. There are mind games being played top down here. And again, the news of the day today, Andy Reid says he watched Josh Simmons pull a burning car off of a child on the way to practice, and he did it with just his knee, which I thought was weird. Didn't make a lot of physiological sense. Right. There's the takeaways from OTAs, and then a little extra flavor that may have been exaggeration in retrospect. Let's take a timeout and let's talk about what Seth has written in the Chief of the North newsletter. We talked about the offense on Tuesday. Today, it's defense day. There are some changes. There are some similarities. The linebacker group is pretty much identical, but that's what we pay Seth the big bucks for, to tell us if it's better or not all the way through. Seth, is it better?
The linebacker room or the defense?
God dang it.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Folks, it's playoff time, and if you're still just watching games, then you're missing out. With Pick 6 from DraftKings, you can turn your hoops knowledge into real cash. Just make your picks, track your score, and if you hit all 6, you're looking at bigger payouts than Prize Picks Flex Plays. Nobody's dropping better payouts than Pick 6. Hit 6 picks, and that's 25 times your cash. And if you beat your competition, you could be looking at a 500 times bag in your pocket. And right now, new customers can get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry. Here's what you got to do. The playoffs are on, so why not take a shot at making a little money while you're watching? Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN to play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only on Pick 6 from DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
So what do you think, Seth? Better or worse? You can read it in the Chief of the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com. It's only $12 a year to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We did the offense on Tuesday, Seth. I don't know if you remember. That's what I said before the break. And now I'm telling you we're going to do the defensive side of the ball. Let's not get to the end of the story yet, though, Seth. Let's start with the cornerback room, which does, as your first draft did not include, includes no Williams. Seth's mic muted?
Did that really just happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
God
really
dang
did.
it.
It really did.
I hate everything.
Really
No,
happened.
I had a thing pop up saying that my mic had been disconnected.
And you just
and
ignored
so-
that and figured it's probably nothing?
No, well, no. I fixed it, and then it puts you on mute automatically when you plug back in.
That makes sense.
And
That
then
makes
I was
sense.
really
Hey, we've all
struggling.
been there.
Because we don't want to say something,
Yeah, my screen
we don't
grab
want to say
thing.
we don't want to say anything
This-
criminating in a
this
meeting
is a-
on Zoom.
This is about right with the article I wrote today, which contained like 4 just egregious typos, where I was just like, I put that in 2024 they had Mike Dana with no H, and then in 2025 they have Mike Dana with an H, and then people were just like, "Wow, you wouldn't think you didn't write at all about the upgrade from Mike Dana to Mike Dana," and I was just like,
Man, you got Seth. I have to assume you wrote out Michael Dana, but there's no H anywhere in Mike or Dana.
I know it was rough. I was
didn't
trying.
read the first draft. Was it Mike Dana? What happened? What do you mean you put an H in Mike Dana?
I had a lunch to get to, and so I was trying to finish it before I went to lunch, and then I was like, "Oh, I made it! I do a quick proofread, and I'll publish it." And anytime I'm not right next to my computer, right as something's published, I always commit the most egregious errors. Like, I don't know, not including 3rd-round pick Noel Williams, who they traded up for at all.
Where did you put the H in Mike Dana, Seth? Stop dodging the question.
At the end of his last name, so is Mike Dana.
Oh,
Thank you for
So-
answering my question.
So the Chiefs roster 2024 to 2025. I like the defense better this year on paper.
Tucker just noted that the rundown says cornerback room improvement. So none of us have been on our best behavior today.
None of us are on our best behavior. So the cornerback is pretty funny. That's did you
Also, none of us either currently or frequently professional writers caught cornerback in the rundown for the first 28 minutes of the show until Tucker.
No, man, it's so incredible. I once in a proposed order, rather than writing someone will not do something, and it was like they use, possess, purchase alcohol or non-prescribed controlled substances. It's that they will. And it's like, well, that's the opposite of what we're going for here. And it was
got a cool state.
Yeah.
Your Honor, he will be buying illicit drugs.
Your Honor, he better be hammered the next time I see him. If he shows up to this courtroom sober, we're locking him up. So The cornerback room was it's what I started with, and that's because I don't know. I felt like I'm mad with power. I don't know. It is the area where I think you will see the biggest difference, health permitting, on defense this year, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The first thing, Nate, who do you think was the second leading snap getter at the cornerback position in the year of our Lord 2024?
So obviously Iron Man Trip McDuffie was number 1.
Yes.
Obviously we know Jalen Watson got hurt in October, didn't come back until obviously playoff time. Oh, buddy, here we go. I don't want to do this.
Yeah,
I don't want to do this.
This poor guy went through enough last year. So we'll just talk about it, okay? Because it's a similar situation to what we saw with the wide receiver position last year in some ways. Trent McDuffie played 92% of the snaps, and honest to goodness, it's weird to me. I mean, he not missed, but he sat out the last game of the season.
Yeah,
right?
He sat out the last game in like the last quarter of Christmas Day.
He didn't miss a snap until like week 14 or something.
If Spags could have cloned him, and they couldn't afford to have him miss a snap.
No.
Correct.
If Trent McDuffie got the wind knocked out of him on a single snap that mattered, Spags is on the sideline. She's like, Trent, dude, we need you.
God, I have a quick correction. I have to apologize for disrespecting Trent McDuffie. He didn't miss a defensive snap until Christmas Day.
Yeah, fourth quarter Christmas Day. And I remember looking at the field at, whatever they call that stadium now. I will always prefer it as Heinz Field. But I remember watching the snap and being
Ayahuasca Stadium.
Is that McDuffie on the bench? On the sideline? That's when you knew the game was over. They're like, hey, Russell Wilson stinks. And Trent McDuffie doesn't have to play another snap until we see you in January.
And that's if Spags no more wanted, and they couldn't bring him off the field, man. Like, things just were falling apart on the back end at times, even with him on the field. Him and Justin Reed are looking around like, guys. Oh, boy. But especially in the cornerback room. So, number 2 snap getter at cornerback was Najee Johnson, 46%. Number 3, Josh Williams, 38%. Number 4, Jalen Watson at 32%. And let me just tell you, had Jalen Watson been healthy all year, he would have been right up there at 90%, because the moment that guy was ready to go, hey, buddy, how you doing, Hayden? The minute Jalen Watson was ready to go and actually ready to go, they were just like, Jalen, we need you on the field, dude, because Najee is having a tough year. And Josh will either do something really good, or he is going to run exactly the wrong direction, and someone's going to be wide open.
Josh, and we were in zone coverage. You knew that, right?
Yeah.
How many times did you think? Yeah. Seth, how many times do you think? Let's say second half of the regular season, they were like, "Hey, bro, we was in match zone.
And that's, I think some of the match concepts were like, what do you mean match? Am I playing man or zone? It's like, no, match. It's like, but what do you mean? It's like when Saban first started doing it, and everyone was like, what in the world is this crap? Like, no one had any idea. It's like a zone, but it's not. And that's hard to do.
No.
You covered him. Did you wonder why your teammate was right next to you? Like, this isn't like, did it occur to you? Wow, there's 3 other guys in red jerseys standing here. Wow, good for us. Quadruple coverage. Anyway.
Can I nitpick on an actual thing related to your story? That's going to be shocking. I would just also include Shamari Connor. PFF had with 469 slot corner snaps.
Yes,
you have him with the safeties. It seems like that's where he's going again this year. But because the numbers just do not add up with the corners, Shamari Connor also got a lot of work in the slot there.
He did, and so they tried Christian Roland Wallace in the slot. For one reason or another, Spags didn't like what he did there. It was kind of a small sample size. I would have liked to have seen more of it. I really would have, mostly because I don't like Shamari Connor in the slot. If you go look at some plays where the Chiefs defense got taken advantage of in the middle of the field, you would see plenty of plays where Connor's matched up one-on-one against a slot receiver, and he's a safety. He's not a slot corner. He doesn't have the change of direction for that, and that's why he looked worse his second year than he did his first year. It's part of it. Sometimes guys just have sophomore slumps. So the thing that they've got that's changed now is a couple things. One, Jalen Watson's back, assume he's healthy. 2, as I did not include initially in my article, they drafted Noel Williams, who is considered by some to be the best slot corner in the draft.
Hey, he got mentioned today in Mike Sando's best offseason move of every team. So not the left tackle position, not anything on offense. Mike Sando, and who talks to a number of executives in the league, looks at everybody's roster now that we're through the draft and obviously we're starting OTA. Says, I actually think Christian Fulton and Noah Williams are the best acquisitions on the Chiefs roster from 2024 to 2025.
And that's the thing is if Williams can play at an adequate level, and let's say Johnson can't bounce back from last year and Williams continues to have, Josh Williams that is, continues to have some of like the mental errors, there's a very real path for him to be cornerback 4 without breaking too much of a sweat from what he did in his college film, because just being in the right spot at the right time is a lot of the battle when Spags dials up certain looks. And if you're cornerback 4, that's the only time you're on the field. And so that's good news for them. And the even better news, and we talked about this at length, when they signed Christian Fulton. Now you've got 2 boundary corners that Spags is going to trust. You put McDuffie in the middle of the defense again, and that is a rising tide that lifts all boats. That is the biggest reason I'm optimistic about the defense being better, is I think the cornerback position will be substantially better. And I will just scream it to the high heavens every time I get a chance to. One of the reasons the 2023 defense was elite was the cornerback room wasn't just great at the top, which it was with McDuffie and Snead, but it ran 4 deep and 4 comfortably, and they played it well. And that does so much. When people were asking, why did the pass rush take such a substantial step backward in 2024? It kind of did, but not really. It's just the coverage wasn't as good. You had more. The ball came out. Yeah.
Right. I was, to your point, Seth, there were easy answers for, man, he's really been in a slump. Bryce Young for the Carolina Panthers on 3rd and 7. It's just, oh, well, who's in the slot?
Yep, great. There were answers there. And to be fair, that was Bryce Young also just threw some darts. That was such a great game. He is the first young quarterback to ever find himself playing Steve Spagnuolo. I've seen plenty lose themselves playing Steve Spagnuolo.
Jordan Love specifically.
Oh, my
Jordan
goodness.
Love didn't want to play football again.
He was tested by fire. So that's what the cornerback room, health, Christian Fulton, Noah Williams, all reasons to be optimistic on a significantly higher floor and a significantly higher ceiling for the corner room, which I would argue, like, you can't stink anywhere, but I would argue that the cornerback room in particular is maybe the most important room as a whole in a Steve Spagnuolo defense.
Because if it's a disaster, it's a disaster. And if it's great, it gives everybody else more time, right? I mean, it even changes what you're doing with the safeties, which obviously Spags loves to tinker with.
Absolutely. And that's where it's just one of those, it's a great thing to see, because it could allow them to run, in theory, more 4 cornerback looks if they wanted to. A guy like Williams or McDuffie that you can move all over, which could allow them, in theory, depending on how the safety room does without Justin Reed. There were so many snaps that they had 4 safeties on the field last year because they were just trying to survive. And if you have 4 safeties on the field, that can be a really great thing, depending on the safeties. But at times, you just end up with guys playing out of position. That's what happened to poor Chamari Connor. And so it was that's where I'm most encouraged about the defense, where I think you'll see the biggest improvement. And I think it's a substantial enough improvement that it really will lift everything up and give them a shot at that 2023 defense again.
It really stands out in this exercise as the group that is not losing anything by force, but gained 2 like really exciting pieces. One for the next 2 years, and then one for the next several. And you'll see in Williams. But we talked about that a ton. I love the Christian Fulton signing for everything it did there. It's obviously all going to be very well entwined with that safety group. And I think you rightfully noted in your story here, Seth, Justin Reed was such an enormous part of the last several seasons with this defense and taking the baton from Tyrann Mathieu, and now presumably handling it to Jaden Hicks in a very different, much greener player than the Mathieu and Reed strategy in terms of stabilizing the back of the defense there. I know we're all excited about Hicks. It seems like the Chiefs are extremely excited about Hicks.
Yes.
If you do want to talk about like one of the obvious things that we're not talking enough about, though, the Chiefs basically swapped out Justin Reed for Mike Edwards in terms of the depth chart, right? The idea is that the roles will obviously change around there, but in terms of how the roster changed, one of the this is probably too big of a number. One of the 5 most important defenders of the last 3 seasons for this team, and maybe one of the maybe one of the 3 most important. I think you're probably arguing 3, 4, 5 though, somewhere in there for Justin Reed, and now he's gone.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I don't think they do that I don't think they let him walk if Nick Bolton had gotten like a Godfather offer somewhere. I don't think they were ever willing to let Bolton and Reed go somewhere. And we talked about that a ton. I'm not going to relitigate, the Nick Bolton stuff.
It is worth noting that Justin Reed didn't leave for a life-changing payday. He left for the same contract he signed with the Chiefs 2 years ago when the cap was lower.
Correct.
Yep. And I don't think they do that also if they don't really like Jaden Hicks, who, what was Jaden Hicks known for in college? A hard-hitting, strong safety type who can play some 2-deep stuff a little bit if you need him, can cover tight ends out of the slot, really, really, really smart, really, really good in run support, and excellent tackler.
And that led the team in interceptions.
Yeah, and led the team in interceptions by being in the right place at the right time a few times in a row. And that matters a ton. The thing is, Jaden Hicks projects, he's not as athletic as Justin Reed was coming out, though, but he plays pretty fast. And he looks like he's got good recognition on things. I actually plan on writing about him pretty soon because I think a lot of their plan defensively revolves around him. The other side of things, it's just worth noting right now, the Chiefs have, for 2025, Brian Cook, who low-key coming off a really bad
I'm gonna make both of you guys talk about Brian Cook in a second. You can skip right over him.
Okay.
Can't wait.
So you've got Cook, you've got Jaden Hicks, Shamari Connor, Mike Edwards, Deion Bush. The good thing about this, there's some redundancy here because you know who we know can be a solid full-time safety in Spag's system? Mike Edwards,
as you would write.
Yeah,
put an H
absolutely. We've watched Mike Edwards do that. We've watched Shamari Connor be a solid third safety in the system, and maybe if they let him play safety, maybe he'll get back to his form. So the floor of the group is oddly a tad higher than last year, just because you don't have one guy doing weird things, and you brought back a guy who's a great fit for the system and is very, very smart. Now, the problem that they have is can Hicks seize that mantle as kind of that guy? Because Brian Cook wasn't that guy last year. Shamari Connor certainly wasn't that guy. Mike Edwards is a veteran, but he wasn't asked to be the leader on the back end. So they're going to be asking a lot from either Jaden Hicks, Brian Cook, or Shamari Connor. One of the 3 of them. My assumption is it's Hicks, and I think that's everyone's assumption. Right. But they're going to be asking a lot from whoever that is.
One thing I'll say about Justin Reed before we move on to the guys on the roster now is I think we will look back at that 3-year stretch because Tyron's gift was more, I think, psychological, and he was more of a playmaker in terms of taking the ball away. So he had leadership qualities. He was considered a guy who convinced other guys to become champions before they actually became champions, and he took the ball away. At his height in a Chiefs uniform, Tyrann Mathieu was I will take the ball from you. Justin Reed, in a similar way, but did it obviously differently, is I'm going to tackle you. I'm going to tackle you. I don't care if it hurts me more than it hurts you. I am going to tackle you. And so it's a very mundane statistic, but the dude did not miss tackles. And he was, as Seth said, in the right place most of the time, could help disguise coverages a certain way because he was versatile enough. And even though he wasn't a person who took the ball away, you weren't getting additional yardage if that man touched you. And so that'll be something that I'm very interested and somewhat leery of in the back end. Because Brian Cook, mostly known for coverage more than hitting, I would say, there could be some more leaky yardage from the safety position because we know what Connor what Jamari Connor's doing. What, arms?
Yeah.
No, I use my neck.
Connor, it's either Connor, and to his credit, he's like the safety version of Willie Gay Jr.
Yes.
Where like when he arrives and finishes,
awesome. Incredible.
It's awesome.
Incredible.
And he arrives fast. It's just the wrap-up stuff isn't great. Hicks is going to be asked to be that guy, that steady guy that's always in the right spot, that is always doing what he's supposed to be doing, that never misses tackles, that knows where everyone needs to be lined up. That's a lot to ask for a second-year player.
Right.
Matthew had been in the league for years. Justin Reed was, I think, a fifth-year player when he came to Kansas City.
It's a fifth year. Yeah, right.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And remember, Kyle Shanahan's, like half of Kyle Shanahan's scheme in that Super Bowl 2 years ago was, hey, we're going to ride Christian McCaffrey till the wheels fall off. Oh my God, he fumbled on the first drive. and then his sort of like, you know, before he actually found the answer to some degree with some of their, you know, hey, let's do in-cutting routes when they're not being covered by Trent McDuffie or L'Jarius Sneed was, hey, we're going to expose Justin Reed because we have a quote-unquote Hall of Fame tight end. And every time that man caught the ball, you know what happened? He got tackled. There was no extra yardage. He got tackled. Justin Reed put a cap on George Kittle in a way that most defensive safeties just cannot do, let alone do it in the biggest game of the year. So I just love the fact that we get heat-seeking missile Jamari Connor, and is that a drone? In Jaden Hicks.
Yeah.
So this is the thing with Brian Cook. He's not the guy we talk about ever. He was second fiddle, or I mean, he was third or fourth fiddle when he got drafted, right? And then you kind of seen him rise, and obviously the injury changed him a little bit. And even Nate, you just saying a second ago, like he's kind of more known for coverage. Like coming out of college, it was like, oh, this dude can hit. Like his like college highlight reel was him being a thumper. So the question that I had in my head 5 minutes ago, before you even said that, was who is Brian Cook? And maybe that's the thing for him right now, where he hasn't been elite at anything, so it's hard to figure out what to hang your hat on when you're watching him, when you're evaluating him. But he is going into a contract year. He is. We're all seeing the same thing with Jaden Hicks, but Brian Cook, if there wasn't, I don't mean this in the derogatory way it's going to sound, if there wasn't Jaden Hicks hysteria happening right now, in this case, positively, I guess, if it wasn't all about Jaden Hicks, we'd be talking about, oh man, well, they let Justin Reed walk. Justin Reed's passing the baton to Brian Cook. And right. I'm not even saying we got to like argue for that. It seems like the Chiefs see him still kind of being second fiddle now to Hicks. But your second safety is really important. He has been this team's second safety successfully. Why don't we talk about him more? How do we evaluate him?
I have thoughts. Hit
me, baby.
Now remember, the Chiefs were not expecting to take Jaden Hicks because they thought Jaden Hicks wasn't going to be in their draft range. Okay, hey, that guy projects to be a high second, high third round pick. Falls to the fourth for reasons we talked about earlier, and it's like, hey man, did you see that injury in Green Bay? Yeah, let's take a talented player that we see higher than maybe some others in the league in Jaden Hicks. Because of the weird skill set that Seth talked about earlier with last year's roster, hey, I want to put much of the burden on Justin Reed, which means you kind of got to be our deep safety, and we live to tell the tale. And look, there's some snaps where the Saints knew exactly what they were getting with this man. The Buccaneers knew what they were getting with this man.
He got targeted, and Nate, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to hear where you're going. But like from the film side of things, Cook has really good closing speed and really good top speed. So in theory, there's a deep safety in there, but some of his bigger missteps were on some really big plays, where he just gets a little over aggressive. He wasn't really asked to be like a single high guy much in college or anything like that. And he'll get wrong footed or something. And that was bad on a few big plays with the Saints, with the Bucks. I think it might have happened once with the Broncos too. And that that happens. But not saying he had a bad year. He didn't. But anyway, that's what I saw too on film.
So I'm assuming the audience is like, well, what's the upside left for Brian Cook beyond just the physical stuff, right? Beyond just, hey, you get further away from the injury. Thankfully, he got through the season last year. And my response to you would be, they actually started to utilize him better when they got more game plan specific under certain matchups in the postseason. And so what you hope is that can continue into this contract year, because I think some of Brian Cook's best snaps were actually in the postseason. What's interesting about this is he will not have the security blanket of Justin Reed, who can help him be in certain spots or obviously can help disguise certain things. That's going to be something that they're really going to have to teach Jaden Hicks. Like, how do you disguise certain looks without giving anything, but also not exposing where the soft spots are in the covers necessarily?
Right.
The first half of the Super Bowl has to be one of the more infuriating things for Brian Cook, because it's not his fault that the first touchdown happens. Hey, that is a cover. We're coming at you. You know it. We know it. Hey, you beat us on the edge. Cool. Obviously, we're not going to stop the tush push. All right, fine. You know what? I'm going to tackle you. I'm going to hold you to a field goal. Okay, hey, it's okay, boys. We're still in it. Okay? I'm going to make, and this is interesting, the most athletic play I made all season was to make that interception in the Super Bowl to give Chiefs another life raft, to which Patrick literally threw the Cooper DeJean, literally threw it to him. I remember talking to Brian Cook after the game, and I was just like trying to inform him that, like, as weird as this feels, as odd as this is the first time you've ever lost in the playoffs. Like, think about that. This is the first time Brian Cook has ever lost in the playoffs, and he's like, I think I had a really good first half. And I'm going, let me put my hand on your shoulder, young man. You did have a good first half.
Right.
It was 24-0.
Right. Yeah. Weirdest game, just honestly.
Not our fault though.
No.
I don't want that. Our branding, weird game, but not wacky.
The Chiefs have won.
Not why the podcast is named the way it's named.
The Chiefs have won 3 Super Bowls and appeared in 2 others and 1 other AFC Championship game since some version of us 3 doing a podcast together has started. Right. I'm not saying we're the. You know what? I am saying we're the reason. So
412.
Yeah. So. The thing with Cook, I do think he's got great closing speed. I do feel like for one reason or another, he just didn't look as comfortable out there last year. I actually still saw some of that thumper stuff from him because in college, he was a great hitter, super physical player. And so I one thing I'm curious about, though, is if they are looking for someone to be more of the back end guy, I don't think Connor's a great fit for that because of his aggressiveness. But Edwards is. Now, the thing is, Edwards doesn't have the long speed that Cook does to be. The Chiefs hardly run any middle field close stuff with like a single high safety. And if they do, it's something weird, or they're like blitzing, 5 guys. So you're not really like playing single high when they're blitzing that many guys. That's like hey, yeah.
Can I tell you one of my favorite clips of the year? It's like, hey, this is Steve Spagnuolo in week 1 against Lamar Jackson, a guy obviously in primetime season opener. And he's like, what we could do, because you can look this up. What we could do? We could make it look like cover 1. And then Brian, yeah. You're going to stay back. Obviously, you're going to stay back. Don't let anybody get behind you. But at some point, guys, we're going to run a play where Justin Reed's going to keep creeping to that line of scrimmage, keep creeping. And then you know what it's going to be when the ball snaps? Drew Tranquil's the deep safety.
Yeah, that was psychotic stuff.
Psychotic. They never ran it at any other point in the regular season.
Right.
Psychotic.
And now it's on film.
Now it's on film. We're doing cover 2 with a linebacker as a deep half safety next to Brian Cook, and we got away with it.
Sometimes I wonder if one of the reasons Tranquil had a bit of a down year last year is they tried to do a little too much with him at times, but that's for a different day. I do think, though, Josh, I really like when I saw that Cook played 90% of the snaps last year. He was that him and Justin Reed played identical number of snaps. He was their number 2 guy. The idea is he was fine. He was not bad last year. He just didn't take another step forward like people were hoping. I do think, he had a really awful ankle injury. And you never know how that's going to look the next year mentally for someone.
Correct.
Because hurting it the way he hurt it, that'll stick with you mentally a little bit. So I like the Chiefs safety room. You have to say it's a downgrade from last year when you lose the best player in the room. But actually, I know it's because it's not as simple as swapping out Reed for Edwards. I actually don't mind the position they're in right now because I think of the faith I have in Jaden Hicks and the faith that I have in Spags and Merritt, to where like I just don't think, and I just because because he's the defensive backs coach, people,
right? Not
just the corners. And so, and if Dave Merritt says, "Yeah, this kid can do this," I think he can. So I do think it's a downgrade, but I'm not sure it'll stay that way throughout the entire year with all the moving parts there.
I'd co-sign all of that about Merritt and Spags, but I will also say that if any other team was like, yeah, we let our starting safety go, who's been our like leading, one of maybe the face of at least the back end of our defense the last 3 years in these dynasties, we're going to replace him with a second-year, fourth-round pick. We would all be like, this team is trusting its coaching staff too much. So I think we all see it in this very specific circumstance, but it's worth acknowledging that it is a bit of a gamble. The linebackers are very, very similar, and you split the defensive lineup into edge and interior. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the rookie additions there. We don't have not a runway left here, Seth. Why don't you pick something across the defensive line? If it's one guy or one change, you think, this. Do you need two? You need two. I was going to give one to you and one to Nate, and Seth gave me puppy dog eyes. Can I have another one? It's not dinner time yet. Okay. Give us one and then pause, and then I'll come back around for the second one, unless they're so related you can't possibly.
Nope, I will give you one.
Okay. We'll come back for the second.
Yes. And they're related. It's one thought, I swear.
It could be. I said you could have two thoughts.
Yeah, no, I know. But even this first thought is going to sound like two thoughts.
Mother.
Charles Omenihu should be fully healthy, should be here for the full season while in a contract year. That's a massive difference from last year where he had 21% of the snaps. Injuries kind of devastated the defensive line last year too. And that wasn't just him, it was Mike Daniel too. That's my first thought. Charles Omenihu healthy. Is Charles Omenihu healthy and a year removed from an incredibly late season ACL injury?
Yeah, that's 1.5 things. Because you brought Dana and the injuries.
That's your biggest change.
No, just rip through him, man.
I just can't get past the idea, and I'm sure it's not going to happen. Every time I go back and rewatch Ashton Gelati's film, I'm like, I really think this guy's going to push for snaps. I really do. And where are they going to come from? Who knows? I don't know. Yeah. Well, I think where they'll come from is when they're like on obvious pass rushing downs, and they're like, we have got to move Omenihu inside.
His name. Say it. Just say his name. Hey, if you swing and miss,
Seth can't actually. So
say his name.
I think you might be worse, Nate.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Hey,
now, but even
let me tell you, Nate. Felix Udike-Uzomah had 31% of the snaps last year. Not a lot of snaps when Charles Omenihu is also coming back.
Right. So I'm telling you right now, it's a fight to the death between a first round pick and Ashton Gelati.
Yeah. And Malik Herring saw like 18% of the snaps. Now, a lot of that resulted from that last game of the year, but FAU became a guy that could actually plug in.
Cam Thomas and Joshua Uche in this.
The same reason I didn't include Nate.
Thank you. And so I can put my hand in the dirt, coach. Just say the word.
And again, when anytime Spags has had a healthy Karlaftis, Omenihu, and Dana, that rotation has been like it. He has been like, nope, I trust all three of these guys because they love Mike Dana in that room. And he's a guy that does a lot of things well. Appreciate him. I don't think he's as good an edge rusher as Ashton Gelati. I just don't think he is. He's going to be way stouter against the run. He's proven against pros. His college film is not nearly as good as Ashton Gelati's college film.
Yeah, give it to him. Yeah, give it to him.
And you know who else's college film wasn't nearly as good as? Okay, his film was close to as good. Ashton Gelati's college film was better than George Karlaftis' college film. Now the problem is he's got like 20-inch arms or whatever they are. And in the pros, that could just be a non-starter to where he just never does anything. But I can't get past the idea. Charles Omenihu, who has very long arms, him being healthy is by far the biggest thing. The potential firecracker in all of this is if Gelati is what he looks like on film in college.
We're doing a lot. We're doing a lot.
It would just be so cool.
Let's just say the obvious. Is the D-line better? Can you guarantee me a slight uptick in Chris Jones's production? Because if that happens, then the D-line will be better, and I don't care who's on the line.
I just don't want them to be relying on Chris Jones to be
I'm
Superman
sorry,
again.
sir. He's the sun. And we need the sun to be a little bit brighter next season.
Oh, don't start that kind of talk. He was awesome on film.
He was great.
How many sacks did he have, Seth?
Here we go.
I just want to.
Sorry, Seth. One of your 6 things wasn't defending Chris Jones, so maybe he stinks. It's hard to say. No one's gonna know. For
hard
sure.
to say. Maybe the game has passed him by.
Answer this on Tuesday. I think Charles Omenihu is gonna have I think here's my hot take. I think Charles Omenihu is gonna have a career high in sacks single season. His career high before this was 7. His first year in Kansas City.
Wow, and that was in half of the season.
I know.
And
11 games.
Here's the beautiful thing. If you get another edge rusher that you like you legitimately like as an edge guy, you can put Omenihu next to Chris Jones on obvious passing downs. Omenihu's at his best rushing from the interior, just like Mike Dana is actually.
Correct.
Actually, kind of Ashton Gelati kind of was in college too.
And the Chiefs, the Chiefs did the obvious thing by getting interior pass rushers to make up for the slack that Chris Jones left last year, according to Nate Taylor.
Clearly.
Yeah,
Look, I'm just someone who does his research by reading stats.
Gosh, and a lot's
what is this
rise.
film you talk of?
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the interior defensive line on Tuesday. You said.
Oh, I wasn't promising that, but I'll tell you what, buddy. If nothing else happens, we got nothing but time. We can do an hour on the defensive line. You want to talk about Ashton Gelati again? Tune in on Tuesday. You want to hear Seth go through Omar Norman Lott's vision one more time? Tune in on Tuesday. You want to know how Nate's changing diapers? Tune in on Tuesday.
Hell yeah.
I don't think we're going to have any other news by then.
We're so close to a blowout right now. He's just waiting on me. He's just waiting on me. He's just waiting on me. And then when you get that first blowout diaper, ooh, game done changed, coach. Game is changing.
I think there's something beautiful about Nate being held in purgatory waiting to go change a poopy diaper while I'm stuck here listening to Seth give me his 6th final thing. There's some real symmetry in that.
Yeah. But it's the last one. This time I mean it.
There's another one?
Nah, I don't know. I'm just talking.
It is a podcast, Seth. I don't know. now I'm in the loving position of trying to guess. Does Seth want to keep talking about Jerry Tillery and Marlon Tuipulotu, or can the show just end? Does Nate have an outro? I don't know. Is there a gong? Seth, we're over an hour. If you wanted to talk about Jerry Tillery, you shouldn't have engaged with my sock conversation for so long.
Hey, Seth. Finish. Hey Seth, what if you could promote men's hygiene? What brand of clippers are you using these days on the toes?
I'm available for brand deals. Those brands know what we'll do for them, image wise.
This has to be the end of the show, right?
Permanently. I think it probably should be.
Man, I thought you were going a whole nother direction when you started saying clippers, and I was like,
Hey boys, I just want to let you know he peed out of the bassinet last night. We got a real athletic guy.
Why won't the show end?